Hello guys, this is JIGHEAD TV, and today I wanted to talk about one question that many guys asked in the comments. It's about how not to get stuck and how to get stuck less. And you know, some of them telling how you are not getting stuck. I'm getting stuck as any other angler, but by following simple rules, I just tend to get stuck a bit less than others, maybe like beginners. But still, of course, we are not seeing what's happening under the water, so we cannot completely control it. But there is some simple rules to follow, which might help you to get stuck less in the jigging process or fishing with the soft baits. So first of all, when you come for fishing, and depending on the spot you are fishing, you have to understand how the underwater structure looks like. Like for example, right now I'm in a breakwater here, and most of the breakwaters in the UAE or other places, how they are developed. So the breakwater is a structure made out of rocks, and it's a lot of rocks. So whatever you are walking on above the water, and there is approximately similar size or maybe twice the size of that inside the water. So it's just a rock water, the breakwater. Like for example, this one is going down. I'm standing on the lowest part of the breakwater right now, and underwater I can see that the breakwater goes more deep inside, and I can estimate that the distance of that will be approximately the same distance of the breakwater itself. Or it could be a very steep breakwater with sandy rocks, like for example most of them in Abu Dhabi in that way. So it's a steep rock breakwater, and then you can see that there is a very little structure under the water itself. And the breakwaters can go much more, can be more flat, kind of, they go deeper inside, or they can be steep, or they can be somewhere in the middle. And taking that into consideration, you have to do following. And for example, you don't have to do following, but I mean, what I do is, first of all, of course, when I cast, I try to cast as far as possible, because the more further you cast, the greater chances you can cover more distances and to find more fish. Not necessarily, I mean, it's like when you're doing mostly rock fishing and you're trying to catch groupers, snappers and stuff, you don't need to cast far. You will be just looking for them somewhere near the rocks. But in general, fishing practice is you're not targeting specific species, so you are trying to look for different type of species, and you would cast further and you will play your jig or soft bait or lure from far. So what happens? So I cast far, and when I cast far, I always, like 90% of the time, I keep my bail open. So I do cast. Once the cast is on, I keep the bail open, so the jig falls approximately in the same place where it touched the water. And with the current it will go just a bit left, right, or a bit further. But if you close your bail, what happens, the jig, like you stop the line, and the jig will fall like that. It will just fall on according to the tightness of your line. But if you keep your bail open, the jig goes inside the water and it continues going under the water, and the current will help to take it a bit right, left, or down, but it will just try to land approximately in the same area where you cast. So that's why after you cast, you keep the bail open and the line will go. If it's a very windy day, what I would do, I will cast, keep the bail, and I keep the line with my hand, and while I feel the pressure of the line. When the jig itself starts pushing the line, I keep releasing it little by little, so I don't have too much of the sail effect. So I'll just keep it with my hand and release the line with my hand until the jig touches the bottom. And once it touches the bottom, I close the bail, make it tight, and start playing it. When it's a normal day, I usually just keep it open until it touches the bottom if it's not windy, and then I close the bail and I start retrieving, playing the jig and stuff. So keep that in mind. If you close your bail, I keep closing the bail only if I trying to attack specific target. Like for example, if I see an action in front of me and I cast the jig and I want it, you know, playing it straight away, I would close the bail. Always try to check the line that it's not looped here. I always that's the make it a habit. Always, once you close the bail, just push your line a bit. I don't know if you notice on many videos I do that. After I close the bail, I push the line, so I know that there is no loops here, especially on the windy days, because if you have the loop on your reel, and then you will get a wind knots. So after I do that, and I close the bail only when I see the frenzy, I cast in the middle of the frenzy, I close the bail directly, push the line and start retrieving fast or playing fast the jig. That's the only cases when I usually close the bail directly. Otherwise, I never close the bail. So let's see how it works. So what I do, right now it's a bit windy day, for example, I would cast the jig. I cast the jig, I keep the bail open. You see the wind is taking my line, but I'm just keeping it with my hand, and I release the line little until it touches the bottom. It touched the bottom now. It touched the bottom now. I close, I push just to make sure, and I start playing my jig. And how you play your jig, it doesn't matter. So I'll just retrieve it for now. So the playing the jig or soft bait according, and not to get stuck or get stuck less, I use this simple technique. I would cast as far as possible, and I always measure my distances, you know, visually, just approximately where is my line, where is the middle. You know, if I cast, like for example, I see where my jig landed, so directly I would think about where is going to be half of that distance. Why do I need that? Because once I cast, I let it sink all the way to the bottom, and I start playing my jig. I do, like, it depends on how you play. You know, you do the long jerks, or you do the small jerks, or it doesn't matter. The only thing that you have to keep into consideration, once you stop, just count how many counts you need until you reach the bottom. Like for example, if I cast the jig as far as possible and it falls down, I make a couple of jerks, 1, 2, 3, and I wait. I count how long it takes, because for different jigs, different ways, it will take different counts, different timing. I count, like for example, if my count is until 8, like I did 2, 3 jerks, the jig falls and I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You don't have to be precise with the second, just make your own count, the standard count you do. And for example, on 8 it falls down, so I'll be keeping that in mind, because once I reach the half distance of my area, I will start doing the half count. Why half count? Because I know the half distance of the area, I have more probability of having rocks there, of having different structures, so I will try to not let the jig fall much down. So I will try to make a half count of that. So first I cast far, I make a couple of jerks, I calculate the count of the fall. If it's for example 8 counts, once I reach the half of my casting distance, I will start counting until 4, approximately until 4, because that's going to be, you know, the closer you get, mostly in UAE areas, you will get to the shallower area, and additional to that, you will have the rocky structure. So that means you have to keep your jig above the rocks. So I will do the half count. So I will do the same couple of jerks and I will just let it sink half count, so it falls somewhere above the rocks but it doesn't touch the rocks, and then I do the jerks again. That's half distance. When I reach half of the half distance, I would do the quarter count, so it will be only 2 because the rocks are getting a bit more above, and I will just do the same couple of jerks, but I will do half count, so it just stays. So basically how it works, your jig falls, you do the, for example, couple of jerks, your jerk is up, you count till specific, drops down, again up, drops down, again up, drops down. You reach the half distance, you will do jerks and then half count, so it doesn't reach. This is your bottom, this is your bottom, so it was here, so goes up, down, goes up, down, goes up, down, half distance, it goes up, stays half, goes up, stays half, and then when you're reaching closer to the breakwater itself, you will do the quarter, so it will be like 2 only, 2 counts. So it's the same thing, it goes up, goes down, goes up, goes down, goes up, goes down. So that's basic idea. I will have a graphic approximately drawn also how the half count and all these quarter counts work, but that's a basic idea of how I do jigging, short jigging, and the playing with the soft baits, just to make sure that I get stuck less. Of course, you know, sometimes you cannot be sure because maybe there is some kind of a net or some kind of additional structure which you cannot, because it's normal standard stones, you know how they look and approximately, but in some places there might be some additional rock, some additional net, or someone's line got stuck there or something. This is you cannot take into consideration all the time, but that happens. But this way you will get much more less stuck. So let's try that in practice, how it works. I have a jig now. I will do the full cast now. I didn't close the bail yet. The wind is pushing my line, so I keep it with the finger and I'm waiting for the jig to fall. Once the jig falls, start taking my line, takes my line, takes my line, still didn't reach the bottom. I'm not letting wind to take a lot of my line, so now it reached the bottom. I close the bail, I check the line, so, and I start playing it like 4 jerks, for example, and I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and this is my full count. 4 jerks, and I do not need to count now. I just visually, approximately, I know that to reach the half I need approximately like 4 or 5 jerks. It's falling down again. This is my last jerk before the, like, I reach the half distance approximately now. And now I'm gonna play 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm gonna count 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I reach the half distance of that, and I'm gonna count 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And when I get very close, I'll just retrieve it, simply retrieve the jig. So this is the basic. This is the basic idea of how the retrievals are done. You can do 4 jerks, you can do 5 jerks. The main thing is to understand the count approximately and to keep the track in your head, how many when you reach the half of the way. In areas like Abu Dhabi, you might go a bit further than half distance because it's mostly sandy areas. In areas like Dubai or especially Dibba, Fujairah, in Dibba you have to take into consideration that the breakwaters are much more bigger there and the depths are much more deeper, so your half distance will be less. In Abu Dhabi it's the exact half distance approximately. So this is the areas for UAE, but in general this is the idea of how to count that. If you have too much rocky and reefy areas, most of the time you will not do full count, you will just keep playing the jigs with in the mid water all the time. It depends on your complete area, on your country, and you should know better how the structure of your of the sea floor is. You can dive, you can just take a mask and swim a little bit just to see approximately how it looks like, or you can use what I've done usually before. I use like a ball sinker or a jig without a hook. Maybe you have all jigs or something without hooks, anything, you cast them and you keep playing with them, just checking the structure to understand how the area looks like under the water. You will draw yourself a map of the underwater structures by just letting this jig sink and understanding how long it takes for it to sink and when it starts touching the stones or it's sand, because you will feel it on your rod. If it's sand, it will be very soft touch. If it's rock, it will just you will feel like a drop on the rock, you know, it will hit the rock. So you can approximately draw yourself a structure of the area. Now the question is how to, if you get stuck, how to get out and try to save your jig. It's very hard to save your jig once you get stuck, but some ideas to do that is, one of them is using like a bow shooting type of method. I will show you now. So if you get stuck, don't try to push it out with the rod. Many people, they start, you know, aggressively trying to pull it with the rod. First of all, especially if you have a sensitive tips, there is a possibility you might break your rod. And the second of all, once you are pushing it like that hard with the rod, you are putting the hook more deeper inside the rock itself or coral or something. Instead of that, what you do, I will show you, like let's try to get stuck here, for example. Okay, so there is some fabric here, so I got stuck on that fabric. So what happens if you get stuck, don't push it with the rod itself, because you will try to, you know, you will put the hook much more deeper inside. Instead of that, try the shooting it out, just this simple method. When you do that, usually the hooks have a possibility, you know, you will shoot it out, you know, you push it the line and spring the hook out. If you, I don't know if it's visible for you, what happens is you push it and you spring out, you know, you spring out hard. And what happens in that situation, the hook will do this action, you know, it will spring out somehow, and you have a 50-50 chance of getting the hook out itself, you know. So it will just spring out very easily, and most of the time it helps if you didn't push it hard, and if the structure is on the side edge of the rock or on the edge of the coral and it didn't go deep, sometimes it helps to push it out. Still 50-50% chance. If it's stuck too much and you have, for example, very strong hooks, and you know that you have strong hooks on that, in that case most of the time you just push it out and cut the line. If you have that your hooks are soft and you know that they are soft and there is a possibility to bend them, so if you're completely stuck and this method didn't work, then there is a possibility you can still push it out with if the hooks are very soft and you can bend them. If they are not soft, or at least you will try to save the leader itself. So what you will do, for example, your lure is stuck, your jig or something is stuck, and you don't push it with the rod. You tried the shooting it out method, and that one didn't work also. So you will just put your line, put your rod on the same line with your braided line, and you start pushing. Close the rod, close the bail and everything, so it doesn't move the drag itself, with your hand like that, and start pushing it slowly. And if you know, like the hooks are very soft, if you push it slowly, the hooks will bend out. Of course, if you're lucky, if you got the hooks stuck on it. Sometimes the jigs get stuck by itself, not with the hooks, and this is deadly. In that situation, it's very hard to get it out. If the hooks only and it's soft hooks, you just slowly push that rod towards other side, and pushing it slowly will help you not to break the rod, and maybe if it's a soft hooks, to unbend the hooks and get the jig out. But if it's stuck by jig itself, then there is less probability. You will just cut the line, but even cutting the line is not easy. Sometimes you need to, you know, for the line to break, you need to put some power. So if you're putting it directly with the rod, you might break the rod. So that's why push it hard, gently but hard, you know, slowly but hard along the line, and just push it like that and cut the line. That's the way of how getting stuck and getting out of that, and how not to get stuck itself in general. I hope this video is helpful to understand the main concept of and getting less chances of not being stuck. If you have any additional ways of controlling the jig, please comment below. I would be really glad to know different approaches to that. And of course, if you have some guys who are getting stuck, just share them this video, and I hope it helps to understand the main concept. Of course, each time, each situation is different, and you have to keep practice fishing, and later on you will just get hang of it and keep getting stuck less. Thank you very much for watching, and let me fish for a while, and see you next time.